Are you worried about the next generation and what the youth are now going through? Emilio Ortiz has
Yeah.
become a leading voice of his generation to bridge new consciousness and empower the young and future generation of wellness. He is a host of Just Tap In podcast and interviews wellness leaders of the world to help inspire generations to come. In this episode, we'll be exploring the wellness trends for the next generation and how we can all potentially support our youth with more profound tools to heal the body and the mind. Emilio, welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Amazing to be here. I'm so excited, Christina. It's a full circle right here. You've been an incredible part of my journey, and just being able to catch up with you, you've always been able to elevate me in many ways, and I'm just super grateful for this opportunity and excited for you to be hosting your own podcast.
Thank you so much. It's also such an honor to have you here, considering how much we've gone on this journey together in wellness and how much we've lived over the last couple of years. So it's great to be able to dig in to see what your vision is now as you've built your platform and everything that you see when it comes to studying the trends and all the people that you've met along the way to basically see where you think everything's now going within the shift of wellness.
Hmm.
So to
That's really interesting.
tell me.
I was just, right before I jumped on this call, I close my eyes. I usually use that as another tool to like center myself and breathe through whatever's going on, whether it's nervousness or excitement, whatever it is. But then the word wellness came to me, and I realized like we live in a society that aims for being well, not great, not incredible, not extraordinary. We aim to be well.
Mm,
And the more I've dove into this space, I've realized that we have part of the creator within us. And the more people I talk to that have healed from chronic illnesses, the more people I've talked to that have created and manifested great things in their life, I realize that we're in a society that should aim for greatness, not wellness.
100%. And to you, when you think about greatness, what do you think that represents?
I feel that as we, incarnate into this life, we can create whatever we want in our life. And we are dealt the hands that we're dealt with. And you notice that there's people, and we all have the capacity within ourselves to focus on one thing and to plan out a life and allow the unknown to come in to the point where, we have these capacities that are beyond what we thought we were capable of. And consciousness is the underlying aspect of all of this, that we're creating this reality, we're creating this physical matter. I was just watching Oppenheimer the other day, and
Amazing
there's these
movie.
physicists, incredible, but these physicists, they're arguing, they're saying, the new science, what's going on, the quantum physics. And Oppenheimer, in one of the scenes, he says, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but he says, we are pretty much empty space. We are all energy. And when we realize that, we know that when we shift the energy, when we shift those perspectives that we have around ourselves and our life, then the reality changes, then the external shifts. So I think living as a creator instead of as a victim of our lives is what we should be striving for.
Beautifully said. And I think when you put that into perspective into how you've built the platform that you've built and what's led you into becoming a voice for your generation, I'd love to know more about what inspired you when it comes to what you've perceived in your generation.
Yes. I started, really having some background in this space in wellness, health, spirituality because of my family, because of my mom. She became a Kundalini instructor, yoga instructor when I was around 16. So I was always exposed to that world. But it wasn't until I hit a rock bottom moment in university,
Mm,
coming all the way to Madrid, Spain, from living in Colombia, living in the United States before that. And I really just wanted to prove myself. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to get recognition. I wanted to feel seen. I wanted to feel loved. And I went down the wrong path in many ways, or you could say the right path looking back, because everything was sort of divinely orchestrated to be where I am right now. But I had to hit that rock bottom of the lifestyle that was not serving me, a lifestyle that was not aligned at all with wellness or health or
Mm-hmm.
greatness. It was a life of me just living in accordance to the pace of the external world, the pace of people's perceptions of what you should be, of what you shouldn't be. And I fell into that, and giving myself the chance to hit that rock bottom and realize what was actually, what was my life at that moment. I had to get that wake up call. And that's when I started to search out. And I was a seeker, I am still in many ways a seeker of just looking obsessively for information and tools to help me become the best version of myself. And it all started with just changing that chip from, life is happening to me, instead of the real thing, which is life is happening through me. We hear life is happening for me, but I realized that, to take it a step further, there is this higher consciousness that's coming into the world right now, and we act as vessels for that, and we are allowed to allow that energy through us and express itself in any way. So really what I've been doing now is just becoming a bridge or a channel for any tools or new consciousness that is coming into the planet. There's so much light coming in, from the
Mm-hmm.
solar flares that are going on to, people are measuring the Schumann resonance, the vibrational frequency of the earth. Everything is shifting, and we are here for that shift. Like, we all decided we're here for that. And that's the inspiration. Just remembering why we came, remembering why we're here, in order to fulfill that destiny of the planet that we're evolving into.
Beautiful. And based on that whole, like, I guess, focus on remembrance, which is, oh, it's always very much also resonated when it comes to when I feel like I'm out of my own center, like going back to really remembering the truth. But what would you say by like looking into the shifts that are happening, which is obviously causing a lot of confusion at the same time? What's worrying you the most about today's youth?
Hmm. I guess I'm surrounded in that, in my environment, so it's a unique perspective, because I've seen how, like, even my sister's generation, which is the same generation, essentially Generation Z, but she's 5 years younger. I've seen
Mm.
huge changes in the generation. And I've also talked to a lot of people that they're like pointing out and like criticizing the other generations, and we're sort of compartmentalizing each generation into what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And I feel like, in a way, this technology was bestowed upon humanity in order so that we can learn to handle it. And there's a teaching behind all of this, and it's all these distractions that are going on in our generation. What is the cost of the distraction? And the cost is our dreams. They're our dream life. They're the things that we want to create. We become a society that is widely consumerism, instead of how do we create. And that's sort of the shift that I made. And I started to consume less on these platforms and allow myself to get distracted, which I still do. I mean, this is highly planned dopamine machines that,
You're referring to social
are
media.
meant. Yeah, these platforms, technology, social media,
Oh, yeah.
which is a big theme in our generation right now. But we use these distractions in order to take away from ourselves, from our center.
Mm-hmm.
And, Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I know we both share a fascination with his work, he says where you place your attention is where you place your energy.
Yeah.
So if our attention is constantly on the outside, and we wake up and we're scrolling to see what other people's lives are like, and we're, seeing a highlight reel, and we've all heard this, like, we've heard the negative sides of social media, but the positive, and I guess sort of the bright side of it for our generation, is look at all the tools that are available to create anything. And whether that be literally a website a AI generated, prompt that you could just put in will create a website for you now. Or,
I
you want
know
to
engineering has now
anything.
become and in the new
It's
movement and the creator economy, which I find absolutely like epic to see how
mm,
quickly that's also happened. Because like prompt engineering has now become like a whole new space for how we're going to generate content
yes.
in the future, and how with ChatGPT and everything that's now completely taken over the way we can just create consistency as well in like
Mm.
tonality and voice and language and imagery. And now I want to see what's going to happen with like video. But what do you think that's going to do for like the human element within doing this type of work? Can
I
that really
guess
be replaced?
we're
Because everyone says now, you know,
mm,
it might not be necessary.
yeah, yeah. I guess it will be scary for a lot of people when we don't embrace that change and realizing that this technology, this artificial intelligence, is an extension of our consciousness. And whatever we're creating with our consciousness, it'll be reflected in the outer world. So we can use these tools. And if it's in our consciousness to create a more beautiful world, a more creative world, a more equal world, a more just world, anything that we want to create, the technology that comes through our consciousness will reflect that. So I
Mhm.
think that's where we're sort of at a cross point, and we can go in very different directions. Um, and it's a matter of how we start using the technologies on an individual basis, but also when we come together and use it collectively. And I guess this is one thing that I think it'll unlock for us is tapping into new potentials in our creativity. Because
Mhm.
even I noticed I just did a master's degree as ChatGPT was coming out and rolling out. And I just found myself using it a lot to outsource my wisdom and outsource my knowledge. And I had to even like come to the conclusion the other day is like, am I relying on this technology to tell me what I'm supposed to say or think? Or is there already a deeply ingrained wise aspect within myself that I just need to tune into and then use that technology to complement that wisdom within myself instead of putting it outside of us
And
and noticing that we have to
and
outsource it.
what conclusion did you come to when you tuned into that intention?
Yeah, I was looking, even in the content creator space, using ChatGPT as sort of a technology to have scripts, when we're talking in a reel or something like that. And I found myself like looking for scripts, and then I was like, what am I doing? And I had to really like rewind and say, I need to, practice what I preach of just tap in, look within myself, and allow that wisdom or whatever information wants to flow through me. And then the content is completely different because it's coming from a different place. It's coming from a place that I know that I'm tapping into. Whereas technology, it's just gathering data and giving you output, and in many ways, it's thinking for itself. It's really fascinating to see real time a machine thinking for itself. But I guess we're all learning. We're all in that space of the unknown that we don't know how to navigate this. And the more we dive into it, there's a lot of people that don't even want to use it. Like they don't want to look at it. They're like, this is beyond me. I don't understand it. And that happens in any generation when there's change.
Yeah,
Um, but it's about embracing it and seeing like what we learned about ourselves through the technology, through the platforms, through whatever we're creating in the world.
100%. And I guess also seeing it as something that we're also training as a collective extension, because essentially it is information that we're feeding through our curiosity. And I think that's
Mm,
something that we doesn't need to be overlooked necessarily too when we're working with technology in a way of advancing our ability to know more, to learn more. But going back to like that authentic piece as well, because I feel like a lot of the next generation are struggling with finding their authenticity, which is why social media is causing so much kind of like turmoil. And like what you said of what you overcame when you were dealing with the external influences and like trying to find where you stood within it. I'd love if you could share more about how you overcame that and what it taught you as an experience to really tap in, like, preach on the daily basis.
Hmm. I learned so much about myself. I learned that, we create these egos around us, which are essentially created. We create the ego. We are essentially always putting protective layers around ourselves, and that really comes from how we were raised and programmed as kids. And whenever we go through a spiritual awakening or a wake up call, it forces us to look at those aspects of our younger life that we weren't willing to look at. And I just learned so much about that there's nothing to prove. There is absolutely nothing to prove. And for someone that was always dealing with worthiness issues, and I feel as that's a huge reflection also in younger people and in other generations, is feeling that we're worthy of whatever we want to create or whatever life has in store for us. And I realized that I was sabotaging myself in many ways through this lifestyle, through surrounding myself with circles that weren't serving me, because I was afraid of being in that authentic space of who I am and expressing that as well, because I thought that I was having to prove something that I wasn't. And was I really worthy of having this, or was
Mm.
I really worthy of being who I truly am with all these people? Will they accept me? So it's really facing that aspect of ourselves, which is the ego, because it's protecting us. It doesn't want to make us feel alienated from everyone else. But I feel that that's actually an illusion, because when we're in the most authentic aspect, when we're expressing really exactly who we are, without filters, a lot of the topics that I go into in the podcast might for a lot of people be like, bro, like you're bringing on a channeler. He's talking about aliens. He's talking about, manifestation, like all these different things. And it's like, yeah, because my curiosity is taking me there. And if I'm
Mm.
not authentic to my curiosity, then essentially, I'm going to be resentful with everyone in the world around me and myself as well. So it really taught me to like, line up with what is it that, you know, is calling my attention, calling my energy, calling my curiosity, and following it no matter what. And that'll lead me to the people, that'll lead me to the experiences, that'll lead me to the opportunities that are most in the highest good for, who I am and what this soul came here to learn through my vessel, through this body. I guess you can start understanding. I also have a very spiritual perspective about the world, and it's helped me a lot as well. And that came from just seeking out teachers, seeking out information, and the right information will come to you. When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Always.
So yeah, that inspired me a lot.
And how do you ground the spiritual practice when it comes to, because I know there's also like a very big, like we've both shared curiosity with like the science behind spirituality. So when it comes to
Mm.
like grounding that information, what would you say you think the next generation need to prioritize when it comes to like understanding our nervous system and our brain health, and like, the tangible ways we can optimize the way that we function in the world?
Yeah. When I was in that first year of college and I was telling you about that rock bottom, what I most realized was that I was not in my body at all.
Mm.
I was living, you know, outside of it, and I would not take care of my body at all. I didn't see it as my home. I saw it as just, this, you know, thing made of muscle and flesh and bones and whatever that I could pull apart in any way. And because I was so young, I'll regenerate whenever I want to. But I also realized that we're not just these bodies. We are actually a electromagnetic energy system, perfectly divinely designed, and we're here to use that energy system with the body. And I was just having a conversation the other day with Dr. Sue Morter. She's an esteemed like energy healer, and she talks about all these energy points, what you want to call the chakras, all these different things. And she said that we're not here for enlightenment. And a lot of people in spiritual practice, they want to reach enlightenment, they want to be enlightened. She said, our soul is already enlightened. Like, we actually came here for embodiment. We came
Mm,
here to be in these bodies. We came here to live the human experience. We came here to learn all the spectrum of emotions. And the more we might get exposed to spirituality, it's like, oh, we want to be out here in the ether. We want to be, in the spirituality of the theories, of the ideas, of the concepts. But it's those ideas will come to you when you need them, and they'll expand your mind in many ways. They'll expand, whatever needs to shift. But also, we can't forget that there's a body, there is a mind, and then there's the breath. And Dr. Sushi equates the breath with our soul, because if you think about it, when we die, when we pass on, what stops? First the breath, and then everything after that is shut down. So the breath leaving, that's actually our soul going on to somewhere new. But to ground the spiritual practice, I feel that it's not trying to, and I fell into this trap, going out and looking and searching for all these different things, is being disciplined about one, two, maybe three things at a time, and going in depth. For me, meditation was one of those things that I saw some benefits, and then I said, okay, let me make this a habit, let me create a disciplined practice around it. And because I created a disciplined practice around it, certain things outside started to change. I started to have more clarity, more creativity, better communication with people. And when you know something's working for you, why stop? And that's the question that maybe I'll leave for people, is if it's working for you, why stop? And if it's not working for you, can you find something that will expand you? And even in Access Consciousness, that we talked about before the call, it says what's good for you is what makes you feel expanded,
mhm,
and what's not is what makes you feel contracted. So and to know that, you need to be in the body. You can't be outside of it, because that's where intuition is. Not outside, it's not in the mind, it's in the body. So it's being really like familiar with our body, using it, exercising. That's huge for me, exercising, and just moving everything around, because the energy can get stuck.
mhm.
So we can use the body as well to be able to liberate energy. And then when we liberate energy, that's the energy that we can then use to create, to heal, to manifest, if you want to use that term. But that's sort of what I've learned about the body. I'm not widely an expert in at all in the nervous system and understanding everything, but I have been very familiar with my body in the last couple of years, after being outside of it for so long.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Emilio. What you've built, what has driven you to this point, and what you've overcome to like build on this, inner awareness. I feel a lot of people can resonate with when it comes to understanding how to lead with more presence, and just recognizing when you're out of your center and out of your true inner alignment. So I think that's a beautiful way to conclude this conversation. And to thank you, I'd like to invite you to an assessment that's been provided by one of our sponsors, to just give you some insight into where you're at right now with what we just discussed, and have a little play. So I'll make you a host right now so you can share your screen with us. And when you're ready, we can have a little
So,
game time.
yes, let me pull it up here real quick. Mm, wait, there we go. Are we there? Can you see it?
We there. Okay, sustain
Awesome.
attention task.
Start task. Yes. Wait. Oh, wait, I got confused. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Too slow.
I'm like, what button do I have to press? Click what button? My attention's
Okay, the
anywhere
prompt engineers
right now.
watching live right now. No stress. Oh, boom. Got it.
Oh,
Yes. Oh,
got it.
in trading, in trading. Okay. Okay. You're on a roll. Nice.
Oh, let me see. Okay.
This is a retention and speed situation. But yeah, you're on a roll now. No stress.
Ah, there you go. How's it going?
Oh, wow. Get that rhythm. He's in flow, trance state. Nice. I'm just getting a bit hypnotized now by the numbers and the ticks as I'm watching it. Boom.
Hmm. 5.
Nice.
Amazing.
Sustained attention on fleek. He's got it on lock. Thank you so much, Emilio.
That was interesting. I was like
And
in a game out here. I was in the
again,
game.
thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your wisdom. And it was an honor to interview you after 3 years of seeing what you've done and all the incredible work that you're putting into doing this work and helping elevate consciousness for generations to come.
Thank you, Christina. Appreciate you so much. Again, great questions. Excited for your podcast journey. I'm here to help in any way that I can, and just really happy that we got to connect again and create together and collaborate. So appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.